Hello everybody and welcome to another album review. Today we are taking a look at the latest album from Galactic Empire, which is titled Episode 2. For those of you who may not know, Galactic Empire is a pretty unique band and a band that I like a lot. These guys are actually kind of a metalcore-ish styled Star Wars cover band, and they basically take the original compositions used in the Star Wars films, play them on like guitars and drums and all those sorts of things, and it sounds really cool. They released their debut album last year, and I was actually surprised that they released a second album as soon as they did, because it's only been like a year since their first album came out. So I was quite surprised about that, but it's definitely not a bad thing. Just some more music to listen to, and them showing a little bit more that you can take Star Wars music and play it on metal instruments and it will sound awesome. So as usual, I'll be going through the good things and the bad about this album and my favorite songs and all of those sorts of things. So without further ado, let's begin. So the first thing, as I usually like to point out in my reviews, is the production and the sound quality, and everything overall is good throughout the album. It sounds very much like their first album, both musically and in terms of production. So if you've heard their first album, there won't really be a whole lot of surprises here for any of that. Everything sounds pretty good. The musicianship is also really good. Some of the stuff on this album also sounds like it would be kind of hard to play. So definitely big props to the people who are playing in this band, because they are obviously very skilled and talented. Next, I think the choice of songs that they had on this album overall was pretty good. One of my sort of problems, I guess, well, not really big problems, but still a problem with their last album, was they didn't include any songs from The Force Awakens or Rogue One, and they do include some songs from The Force Awakens on this album, like March of the Resistance and Rey's Theme, and one or two others, which are all done very well, and I really like those. And overall, it was just a lot of good song choices, some more popular Star Wars songs, some songs that really I haven't heard a whole lot of people talk about that are still very good, and I really like that, because on their last album it was mostly the more popular Star Wars songs, like the main theme and Duel of the Fates, the Imperial March, Battle of the Heroes, the Throne Room, the Force theme, all of these different sort of more popular Star Wars songs. And this album kind of branches out and tackles some lesser known ones that are not really talked about quite as much and not quite as popular. As for negatives, which yes, this is going to be quite a short review, since it's not really original music on this album, it's covers and stuff like that, I don't really have as much to say. But as for negatives, there's really only two that I have, which aren't really huge issues, because what is already here is very good. Probably the biggest problem that I have with this album is that I had said that in their first album I was a little disappointed there were no songs from The Force Awakens or Rogue One. On this album there are only songs from The Force Awakens, and I really would have liked to hear like one song maybe from Rogue One, particularly like Hope or the Imperial Suite. Those are my two favorites from the Rogue One soundtrack, I guess. So it would have been really cool if they included one of those in here. Maybe they'll do it on one of their future albums, maybe their next album, who knows. But I would really like that if they did so. It's a little disappointing that nothing from Rogue One made it onto this album, but you know, what's here, like I said, is already pretty good, so it's not a huge issue. And then the other negative that I have, again, is a pretty small issue, and that's only that it would have been cool to get maybe one or two more songs. Their first album also only had 10 songs, as does this album. That's really the only other problem with it, because Star Wars has so many songs, and it would be cool to hear a couple more, maybe even some that aren't actually from the movies, maybe some from like the games or something. I just think that would be kind of cool, but it is what it is. Like I said, what's here already is good, and I would rather have 10 really well done songs than, 11 or 12 where a couple of them aren't quite as good. So, it's not a huge problem, but it is still something that would have been cool to see. So overall, I would definitely recommend that you check out this album and this band. They're really cool and very good. And especially if you're a Star Wars fan, I think you should definitely check these guys out. As for my 3 favorites from this album, I'm probably going to go with, really in no particular order. I don't really think there are any on here that are at least the 3 favorites that are necessarily better than the others. But I really like the March of the Resistance, the Emperor, and Rey's theme. I think those 3, for me, are my favorites on the album. Again, every single song on here I think is good and well done, but those are just the 3 that I would probably say I like the most. So that pretty much wraps up this review. Let me know what you guys think of the album. Did you enjoy it, and did you not enjoy it for some reason? Let me know in the comments below and all of those sorts of things. And that pretty much wraps up the video, so I'll see you guys next time.